For the last 2 months, my Bitcoin Lightning Network routing node has been running fully autonomously, and in this video, I'm going to show you how I did it and share with you the results. We'll cover what worked, what didn't, and most importantly, did autonomous operation beat my manual efforts for profitability? Stick around to find out. Before we dive into the results, a little bit of background here. For as long as I've been running a Lightning node, I've heard a lot of the same narrative from everyone from Elon Musk to even people in the Lightning ecosystem itself. The average person is never going to be able to run their own Lightning node. And despite the fact that things like Umbrel, RaspiBlitz, Citadel, and on make it easier than ever, I do tend to agree with the fact that in the current format, most people who could benefit from running their own Bitcoin Lightning Network node will probably not take the time to watch all of my videos and learn how to do it. A metaphor I like for this is the idea of home internet. In the early days, only geeks were able to figure out how to connect their computer to the phone line, dial in, and all of that. But today, everyone, even your grandparents, probably have a Wi-Fi router in their house, and that router has automated the process of getting connected to the internet every time you pick up your device. I think long-term, that's probably where Lightning Network is going, especially because as anyone who runs their nodes seriously will tell you, running a Lightning node manually is very time-consuming. When I first set up my node, I was spending literally dozens of hours a week learning about Lightning Network, researching the best channels to open, scrolling through logs of failed HTLCs, adjusting prices, and opening and closing new channels. Fortunately, over time, the tools available to Lightning node operators have become increasingly sophisticated. Whereas in my earliest videos, I was sharing geeky tools for tech-savvy people such as Rebalance LND, sorry Karsten, today we are seeing more and more advanced tools for automating the operation of your node. It's still early days, and these tools are definitely not super user-friendly just yet, but I wanted to see just how far we've come and how effective these tools are when compared to a reasonably savvy human operator such as myself. Now, in a previous video, I had done a walkthrough tutorial of just such a tool, LNDG, and if you haven't seen that video, I highly recommend that you check it out here. While LNDG is still pretty intimidating, it offers some very powerful features for automating your node. And so considering just how many people are looking to run their node in a more hands-off fashion, and because I'd spent the time to learn all about how LNDG works, I decided to see just what it was capable of. And so on July 9th, 2022, about 7 weeks ago, I threw caution to the wind for science and flipped the switch to automate my node. Now, caveats. Before you open up a browser tab and do exactly what I did, I want to share some of the caveats that I always share whenever I'm working with a paid consulting or coaching client, Lightning node operator. First, you should not automate what you do not know how to do manually, and this is for 2 reasons. One, in order to automate something properly, you should really understand how it works and be familiar enough with it to know what the risks are if it is unchecked. And 2, in order to automate something, you should have the experience and insight to know what to expect. Now, those are vague, so let me give some concrete examples. One of the most important and annoying things for running a node is the idea of rebalancing, which is paying to send yourself a payment from one channel into another so that you rebalance the funds and have more outbound liquidity on a more profitable channel. But unless you know beyond a reasonable doubt that you'll actually be able to route on that channel and at that price, then how will you know what the channel is worth rebalancing and what you can afford to pay when you rebalance it? Sure, you could automate both your pricing and your rebalancing at the same time, but then you're relying on the software having enough data to actually make informed decisions, and you're risking losing money till it figures those things out. So with that, I want to give you a big caveat, and that's this. You should only be automating your node if you have taken some time and developed some experience running it manually. If you want to gain that experience, I have a huge playlist of video tutorials on all the various tools at various levels of expertise, including the one I'm going to be teaching you about today. Just please make sure to open in a new tab and keep this video going because the YouTube algorithm will penalize me if you stop watching the video. What I automated. Now, because of what I just mentioned, when I say that I automated my node, that doesn't mean that I absolutely automated every single aspect, and that is for a good reason. I didn't, for example, set automatic rebalancing on every one of my channels because I know from my experience that only a few of my channels are really reliably profitable enough to be worth paid rebalancing. And so as you'll see, when we switch over to the screencast, I only set rebalancing up on those very few specific channels. Additionally, I decided that in order to give this a real test, I needed to automate all fees on my entire node for all of my channels. This means that I gave the software the ability to reprice all of my channels, even the known liquidity sinks that are so profitable. Let's talk about what I did not automate. As I mentioned before, I did not automate the entirety of my channel rebalancing deliberately. Additionally, though LNDG does have an autopilot feature where it can act on its own recommendations for enabling rebalancing on specific channels, I did not automate that since I figured I could just do it manually if I agree with it. And in the one instance where it did recommend I enable the channel, I did enable it, albeit not as quickly as the software would have if I'd given it permission to do so by itself. And finally, what cannot be automated yet? Before we dive into the meat and potatoes of this video, and thanks for your patience with all these caveats, I just want to point out one very important thing, and that is this. While rebalancing and fee management are a big part of running a Lightning node, they are by no means the entire story. And a big part of running a Lightning node is, of course, choosing the right channels to open and close. And LNDG does offer recommendations for which channels to open, and I did follow some of those recommendations with varying levels of success. However, this is still far from fully automated, and I simply did not have enough funds on chain to be able to fully follow all of its recommendations and open all the channels that it wanted me to. Additionally, another big part of managing a node is knowing when to close channels that are not performing. LNDG still does not offer this functionality, and maybe it never will. For the integrity of this experiment, I tried to close as few channels as possible during the last 2 months. All right, the results. Let's go ahead and switch over to a screencast and look over the results together. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into my LNDG and see actually what's been happening. And the first area I want to show the results of my little experiment is going in and seeing actually the actions that have been taken. So let's first look at the AR actions, the auto rebalancing actions, and I'll show you all that all of that has already been set up, and that I've set up all the autopilot things that were recommended. I've gone ahead and taken the action, so really giving it a good college try, as they say. The next thing that I'd like to show you all is the auto fees and just show you a summary of how much my fees are being changed. You can see I enabled auto fees starting 1 month, 3 weeks ago, and that's July 9th. And just really immediately, the fees started changing quite rapidly and quite a bit. And what's interesting, I think most interesting, is I really took a hands-off approach for these 2 months. I was actually completely out of town for over a week of this, and I didn't at all touch the node. And then when I logged into the node upon coming back into the country, I realized that fees had changed very, very drastically throughout the entirety of Lightning Network. And they'd actually gone down. I don't know if that's because of more nodes, that's because of more people automating with the software and it being a race to the bottom. But what was most interesting to me in all of this is that my node, and you'll see this if you're following along on my screen, my node was keeping up with the market rates decreasing so rapidly. And you can just see the same node, it only reprices once a day, but you can see, my rates dropping and dropping and dropping over the course of these months and months of data. And if we fast forward to save a little bit of time here, because I don't want to lose you all, fast forwarding and seeing that when I logged in to check, I was right on the average when I went into amboss.space. I had repriced these very, very expensive nodes automatically, and my node was keeping up with the fact that Async's price had dropped. Why don't we skip to the end here? And my node had kept up with the fact that some of these major liquidity sinks, the prices had dropped, and some of my routing nodes had become liquidity sources. If we find BFX here, you can see my node dropped the rates 6 days, 20 hours ago to keep up with what was happening in the market. That's a channel that I've routed at 1000 ppm. And my node knew what was going on and was just progressively dropping it to keep my rates competitive. You can see the same thing happening with Kraken, which used to be a 1500 ppm channel, as far as I know. Async dropping to 305. And that's just the ones that I know off the top of my head from running this manually. They're not all dropping. Some of my rates, as you can see, have been increasing, but I think it's very impressive that it really is repricing most of my channels, at least the ones that are worth repricing, pretty much every day. And so I'm really, really impressed with that aspect of the results. Let's now go in and look at the rebalancing and just see what has been happening and how the rebalancing has been working. You can see only a few channels enabled here, the ones that I really know are going to be worthwhile, and really solid success rates. Again, that is not automated. That's based on my inputs of, pricing 70%, relatively small, and on and on and on. But even with, a 70% cost basis, 54% is a phenomenal rebalance rate. 45% on BFX at a 70% price point. So it's doing a really good job scheduling and just constantly trying to rebalance these channels that I've set up. And I'm really, really happy and satisfied with that. Here I don't have any success. And I think that's because the rebalancing isn't working correctly or something is not. I think it's because the channel is already rebalanced. Yeah, it is. 76% on that side. So that is an indication that it worked really, really well while it was automated. You can see here just how frequently these rebalances are going out. 6 minutes ago, 43 minutes ago, an hour ago, 2 hours ago. So, every hour it's doing multiple rebalances, and it's also smart enough to know that if something is successful, you should try it again. Look what happened 3 hours ago, just boom, hammering the wallet of Satoshi rebalance because it's getting a really, really fantastic rebalance. And so it's just trying that again and again and again and again. Really satisfied with that. Again, just the fact that my async channel has 76% on my side, that's phenomenal because async is a major major liquidity sink. And I believe we can actually go deeper and see more of those rebalancing requests if we want to. You can see here just a lot of rebalancing happening and a lot of attempts to rebalance. Apparently it only shows the last 20 for each channel. I believe maybe if we go in here to BFX, we can actually see how many rebalances are happening, and we can get statistics. So rebalanced out over the last 7 days, 30 days, rebalanced in, really successful, 68% success rate over the last 30 days. That's phenomenal. And you can see here we go, more of the rebalance requests, and just see, again, how successful this has been. Apparently, it's not showing me all the rebalances, and I'm not going to waste too much time here trying to show all of them. So again, as far as the rebalancing results, really, really satisfied, really impressed. I mean, again, the fact that BFX is reasonably balanced, I mean, not even reasonably balanced. I have 90% of the liquidity on my side. That's fantastic. The fact that async is balanced with most of the sats on my side is fantastic. So it's doing a phenomenal job with rebalancing. And I bet you if I increase the rate that I'm willing to pay for Wallet of Satoshi, it would do even better on that. So for that part, really, really great. All right, but that's all well and good. Those are the means. Let's talk about the ends and what people really want to know, which is profitability. How profitable has this been? And am I doing a better job actually running a profitable node since I did this? Now, LNDG is not the tool for statistics over time. It gives you, the 7-day routed and the lifetime routed and stuff like that, but it's not really the ideal tool for benchmarking. So we're going to look at that in ThunderHub in just a second. But I want to point out that just in the last 7 days, I've had a 49% cost, meaning double profit, 100% profit effectively. It's counting my off-chain fees. It's counting my on-chain fees. And it's showing exactly how much I've earned in fees, lifetime, and otherwise. So that's really, really cool. But now let's get to the part that I think we all want to know, the part that's really interesting, which is my node more profitable or less profitable since I switched to this automated scheme of pricing and rebalancing? So in order to do that, we have to look at a 6-month graph. And we can first look at the count before we get into the profitability and just see, have my number of routing events increased over the last 6 months since enabling? And I think you'll see, I mean, I had a period of time that I was really actively managing the node here. That's still when I was learning, again, running the node more actively. And then the human element sets in and I got lazy and stopped managing the node as actively. And that's part of the reason that I decided along about here, July 9th, to try and automate this whole thing. And you can see pretty immediately, if we zoom in on this, pretty immediately you see a dramatic increase in my number of forwards over time. Sometimes I have worse days and better days, but on average, you can see the trend line is definitely going up. Here, I would say I was completely out of town and not opening and closing new channels at all, and that might explain the dip. But that's not what's interesting. What's interesting is the amount that I'm actually routing, and then we'll get to the good part, which is the fees. So clearly here, it's night and day in terms of the amount that I'm actually routing. It's significantly more. So it's not just more routing events of small payments, but I'm also routing way more sats than I ever did. Even though in June I had a couple huge channels to loop, I'm routing way, way more. On one given day, I routed 37 million sats. That's more than I've ever routed ever. So you can see pretty immediately, I mean, the software took a couple days to figure out, what's going on and reprice things. But pretty immediately, you see just a massive spike in my forwarding events. So now let's get to the part I know you're all waiting for. We have fed the YouTube algorithm enough retention now. And I want you, again, to point out, don't pay too much attention to these few days in June, because I did have a major, like half Bitcoin channel opened to loop. And let's really look at the data before and after that. So here you can see on a good day, I was earning 2,000, 3,000 sats, 2,500 sats. And then we go to July 9th, and the rate does increase a little bit, and we start to see really good days. 6,400 sats earned in a day, 8,000 sats earned in a day, 7,000. So consistently across the board, I'm earning more both in the peaks and in the troughs. I mean, I used to have days where I would have 0 routing for 2 or 3 days. Now, unfortunately, there is no way to do very specific, monthly cohorts. I would like to be able to show you the month of April, the month of June, the month of July, the month of August. We can't do that. At least I don't know how to do that without using some custom BOS commands that I don't want to get into. But I think we can all see the trend line here, right? I think we can all see that the bar chart here is significantly higher. And I can tell you from experience, here I was happy if I was in a month routing 20,000, 25,000, earning 25,000 sats in a month. That was really good. And I remember, many months I was happy to earn 11,000 sats back down in this area where really I had days and days of not earning anything. And then a really good day would be 1,600. And now, as you can see, on a good month, I'm earning 45,000 sats. That's just the last month. That's really, really good. That's significantly better. I mean, now I'm earning in a week 3,700. So, and I guess that is a pretty slow week, or maybe because we're in the early beginning of the week. But 45,000 is the most that I've earned. So I'm sorry that I don't have very clear comparisons of the before and after. Let me know in the comments below if you know how I can do that and how I can generate a report of the earnings of a specific month, because I would love to be able to give you guys that data in the comments or description below. And by the way, if you're enjoying this video, I would really greatly appreciate if you gave me a subscribe, a comment below, and a like, and maybe even consider joining the channel membership. There are memberships from, I think, $2 a month that gives you exclusive access to the videos before they come out, as well as upper tiers where you'll be able to join me for live streams where I'll walk through different tutorials and topics, answer your questions, and on and on and on. There are some really cool perks below, so make sure to check that out if you want to support the channel. Conclusion. So what is my conclusion after 2 months of automating my node? Well, first and foremost, it pretty much goes without saying, but the automated approach is so much more active than any human ever could be. Even at my peak, when I was obsessed with running my node, I was never repricing channels and rebalancing them nearly as much as LNDG seems to. So in terms of just being on the ball and responding to market forces quickly, LNDG definitely gets the win here. What's more, whereas other tools that I'd been using in the past to automate my pricing, such as Charge LND, do automate pricing, they also do so based on rules such as the balance of the channel rather than the supply and demand and flow of that channel. And as I learned from Karsten Otto in the video interview we did together, this is not the right way to do it, and it leads to you either routing less or earning less than you could if you priced based on flow. So kudos to Karsten for teaching that valuable lesson to me and to all of you, and kudos to LNDG for doing this the right way. Now, while I don't have any hard data exported to compare the actual profitability of my node month over month, and my experiment methodology was not free from outside variables, I have to say that the results do seem to speak for themselves quantitatively. In the past, I was happy to earn 10,000 sats a month, and now I'm earning 45,000. Though it's also worth pointing out that I'm also spending much more on rebalancing than I was before, as much as 49% this week. But still, I'd rather earn 51% of 45,000 than 80 or 90% of 10,000. Wouldn't you? Plus, there's the simple fact that my time is worth money to me, and there's nothing that fulfilling about repricing or rebalancing channels. So while you might enjoy researching new channels, you almost definitely don't enjoy manually rebalancing them. And I can honestly say that thanks to LNDG, I log into my node once a week or less just to keep an eye on things and see how much I earned in routing. So overall, I would say that, yeah, this is a big win. I really love LNDG. I'm going to keep using it, and I can't wait to see how LNDG grows and develops over time. Now, if you're interested in automating your node and you've already met my suggestion of learning how to do it the old-fashioned way beforehand, then make sure to check out the video tutorial I did on it in the description below, as well as all of the other video tutorials I've done on the Lightning Network. And make sure to tip the creator of LNDG for creating this awesome free tool for all of us to use. Thanks for watching, and again, please make sure to like, subscribe, and comment below so that my videos will reach more people, expand Lightning Network and Bitcoin adoption, and help end the tyranny of the fiat monetary system. I appreciate you all. Take care.